Hey everybody, and congrats to the class of 2020. My name is Atianna Cordova, and I'm a recent graduate of LSU. And today I'm going to be talking to you about public speaking. Before we get started, I want to give you a quick overview of my background. So in 2016, I received my Bachelor of Architecture degree from the School of Architecture. And in the past 2 years, I've started my companies, Waterblock and Waterblock Kids. Waterblock is an urban design studio that works with residents and stakeholders to develop community-driven solutions to climate and environmental risks in their neighborhoods. Waterblock Kids works to educate youth about design and the environment. I also recently started a YouTube channel called Atianna Cordova, where I share tips and advice related to business and personal development. In a recent video titled Public Speaking 101, I share 8 easy tips that you can use when you have to do public speaking. So I'm so excited because in this video, I'm going to share 4 of those tips with you all. So whether you're a seasoned professional, a business owner, or a recent graduate, having great public speaking skills can take you a long way. Now, for most of us, public speaking skills are not something that we're naturally born with. So they're skills that need to be learned and developed over time. So the first tip is related to fidgeting. So when you have to give a public presentation or do some type of public speaking, it may be common to fidget. So normally this takes place in our fingers. So whether that's we're playing with our hands or we're playing with our hair or our clothes or other items around us, being mindful of fidgeting is important because it's distracting to your audience. So one way to combat fidgeting is to think about your hand placement. So when you have to give a presentation and you're standing in front of your audience, instead of having your hands in front view where your audience can see them, instead try placing your hands behind you. So now if you must fidget, you can do it, but your audience cannot see it, which allows them to give more focus to you, the presenter. The second tip is related to eye contact. So when we have to give a public presentation, it might be nerve-wracking to think that you have to stare somebody in the eyes to do your presentation. But there's 2 ways that we can combat this one as well. So the first one focuses on large groups. So if you have to give a presentation to a large group, before starting, pick 3 points in the room. So 1 point to your left, 1 point that is straight on, and 1 point to your right. Now, once you have your 3 points identified, I want you to look at the relative hairline of the audience members in those directions. So for example, when you're giving your presentation, you want to make sure that the entire room is engaged with what you're saying. So by selecting 3 points in the room before you start, you already have 3 areas identified so that you can engage the entire room. So during my presentation, as I'm looking to the left side of the room, I'm looking at the general hairlines of those audience members instead of their eyes. And then as I'm looking in the middle, I'm looking at the general hairlines of those audience members instead of their eyes. And then as I'm looking to my right, I'm looking at the general hairlines of those audience members instead of their eyes. So in this setting, because you're not as close to your audience, it's easy to somewhat manipulate where you're focusing your eye attention. So by slightly shifting your eyesight to the general hairline, you can eliminate some of those nerves that you may have built up about having to look someone directly in the eyes. Now, this tip can also be used in a small group setting or if you have to do public speaking one-on-one. So instead of looking the person directly in the eyes, you can try looking at the middle of their eyes, so the space between their eyes. Once again, this may eliminate some of those nerves about having to look someone directly in the eyes. So for anyone who gets anxious or nervous about having to look people in the eyes during a presentation, try this tip instead. The third tip is related to talking speed. So when you're giving a presentation, you also want to be mindful of the rate in which you're delivering your message. It's important because you want to make sure that people understand what it is that you're actually saying. So one tip to overcome talking too fast during your presentation is to practice. So before your presentation, use your phone or use a camera to actually record yourself giving your presentation. This can help you to self-identify some of the goods and bads that may be happening when you're presenting, but also allows you to build familiarity with your presentation content. So talking speed is also important to note because if you're giving a presentation to a large group or a small group, you may not know everyone who's in the audience. So if someone has a language barrier, you want to make sure that you're delivering your message in a way that's easy to understand and clear. So the fourth and last tip I have for you all related to public speaking is around using the word So during a presentation, it's common to see someone use the word Now, may be a part of your regular communication style, but during a presentation, it can be very distracting to your audience. So instead of saying try breathing in those moments. By taking this moment to breathe, you're giving yourself a second to regroup and regather, but also not to pose any distracting factors towards your audience. Because the intention is for your audience to focus on you and not other elements that may distract them from the message that you're trying to share. Now, these are just 4 easy tips related to fidgeting, eye contact, talking speed, and the use of during a presentation. But if you're looking for others, I'd encourage you to check out my YouTube channel and my recent video, Public Speaking 101, where I share 8 easy tips that you can apply the next time you have to do public speaking. So I hope these tips were helpful, and feel free to connect with me outside of this video. Once again, congratulations, class of 2020. I wish you all the best in the next phase of your journey.